Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront Reds Show. I'm your host, Chad Dawson. With me again this week, the Podfather, Bill Lack. Bill, you're here 2 weeks in a row. This is alarming.
It's scary that you guys can't get anybody better than me.
Well, I wasn't going to put it in those terms, but since you said it,
you've scraped the bottom of the barrel 2 weeks in a row. You're going to dig right through that bottom.
Not quite the bottom of the barrel. You were the 12th or 13th person I called. So, there were a couple more I could have gone afterwards. No, not true. So we're here to talk about the Cincinnati Reds. And Bill, we talked a little bit off air about some things we want to go into today. And we have some idea of what we want to discuss. But I want to start with sort of the big picture question. The Cincinnati Reds are 9-9 right now after 2 sweeps this week. One sweep in our favor, one sweep in the other team's favor. We'll get into that as well. But the Reds sit at 9-9. That's 500 in baseball terms. And so, where are we on this team? Do you feel any different about this team than you did before the season? What are just sort of your big picture thoughts about the club?
Well, like you said, they're 2.5 games out right now. Baseball Reference gives them a 15.8% chance to make the postseason as of today. I'm not as optimistic as I was before the season. This is a team right now that's beat up. I mean, all that depth we talked about before the season, it's gone. And now we're getting it sounds like the whole team's dealing with the flu, which can they can pass it. They were on that incubator coming back from Seattle yesterday, so who the hell knows who's going to be healthy this weekend? I remember last year they went through like a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks where they were dealing with COVID. The pitching staff was all dealing with COVID. So I'm not as optimistic as I was before the season. I think the key is when we start getting guys back, when we get Marte back, when we get McLean back, if we get McLean back, guys start getting a little healthier. If we can stay within striking distance till then, I think we got a really good shot. But they've got to play better than they did the last 3 days.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. And that's kind of where I am. I'm not disappointed actually at 9-9. I didn't enjoy the 3 days out in Seattle, but I'm not disappointed with where they are. And I don't know that I'm less optimistic because it's hard to quantify how optimistic I actually was in the beginning. But I guess once, TJ Friedl went out, Matt McLean went out, Noelvi Marte got suspended. Once that happened, and if you'd have told me the Reds would be 9-9 after 18, I probably would have said, okay, I'll take that. I think the rest, again, coming back to the way you sort of put it, just got to remain in striking distance. They have to, and I fully expect at the end of the day, 500 will at least be in striking distance midway through the season in this division. I saw an interesting. I think it's true, but it doesn't surprise me. But it's kind of sad. 9-9 is tied for the best start ever in the David Bell era. I think I saw that from one of the Locked On Reds guys, and I guess that's something. But when you consistently start, 3-21. Okay.
But he's had winning teams. What, 3 out of the 5 years he's been manager? So,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. They've never started well. He also lost 100 games one year. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was fun. So we'll get into some of the individual performances and who's being used right and who's not being used right. But overall, I think big picture is just that I'm about where I was. No reason to be down on this team. No reason necessarily to be optimistic about this team as currently constructed either because of the lack of depth. But maybe optimistic about how things will be once some guys start filtering back. You had something else you wanted to add?
The only thing is, they went out and they beat a good Philadelphia team on the road, took a series out there. They lost a series to the Mets, and you went, the Mets are terrible. Mets are playing pretty good baseball. I don't know how good Seattle's going to be. They look pretty good this week. Their pitching looked really good the last 3 days. And they went to the White Sox and did what they should have done, which they just kicked the crap out of them. That's a bad team. That's as bad a team as I've seen in quite a while.
I agree. It was ugly. But on the other hand, the Reds have not always beaten bad team. Matter of fact, Reds have been the bad team more often than not. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of it. which is probably not what I should be saying on a podcast where I'm supposed to be analyzing the Reds, but I just don't think we have enough data, and I just think that being 500 at this point in the season, it's acceptable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean we're still talking about small sample sizes at this point.
Bingo. So yeah, I think the way to go through this is let's talk about some individual performances. Or actually, let's. Do you want to talk any about the specific games before we get into that of the last week? Again, since our last podcast, the Reds swept in Chicago, got swept in Seattle. That's all I have for that.
The only one I want to talk, I would mention is Saturday, the return of Nick Lodolo.
Yeah, the Reds lost that game 3-1 in Seattle.
No. Lodolo.
Lodolo pitched the game where the Reds lost 3-1, right?
No. He pitched.
Oh, no, that was the game. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that was in Chicago. Okay, see, yes. I'm confused.
See what happens when you have a job? I'm telling you, that job that never helps anything.
I'm completely lost. What day of the week is it?
I think it's Thursday.
Who am I?
Anyway, Lodolo, on Saturday threw 5 2/3, gave up 1 hit, struck out 10. I mean, you couldn't have scripted his return any better. It was just completely in control all day. It was just, we went out to watch the game at the local tavern, and it was just a fun game to watch. And so that's the only one that really stands out to me of the last week. But
yeah, there are a few individual performances.
Glad to have you back, Nick.
Well, I think it's just this pitching staff, and I expect we'll have plenty to say about this pitching staff as we start looking at some of the individual performances so far this year. But if I'm optimistic about anything, it's this starting rotation and having Lodolo step back in. And there are people already that are just out on Nick Lodolo, which I kind of get. I mean, the guy has never been able to stay healthy, and so why would you expect him to stay healthy? I don't know. When he is healthy, there are times when he just dazzles on the mound, and he not being able to start the season on time, to come out and have a performance like that. Here's what I'm saying is that this week I divested myself. I sold just a tiny bit, not a lot. I'm not fully selling all my stock in Hunter Green. I just divested a small portion, and I purchased Nick Lodolo stock. I'm all in on Nick Lodolo stock.
And we need to talk about Green because I'm gone the other way.
Well, we're going to talk about Green,
but
Lodolo, I'm just selling a tiny bit, just a tiny bit of stock. I want to
correct one thing that I think you said. I would say that Lodolo has never been not effective when he's been healthy.
No, I think that's true. Yeah, right. It's just he's not been healthy.
I think that's fair. He's got beat up on. I'm not saying 100% of the time because nothing's ever 100%.
Because he's a kid, right?
Well, no matter who you are, you're going to get beat up once in a while. But even last year when he was ineffective, I think the leg was bothering him the whole time. But what a magnificent performance he gave on Saturday. I mean, and you had to be excited for the kid.
And isn't he fun to watch? I mean, I just love the way he pitches. So
he is probably my favorite guy to watch on the Reds.
It's close between somebody I just mentioned, but we'll get into him in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the individual performances from the week, and not just from the week, but from the full season. When we talk about individuals on this show, often we always start with the hitters, but I'm going to flip it up because we've already hinted at it a couple times. Let's start with the pitching, and the pitching. Let's go with Hunter Green. Now, I have some thoughts about Hunter Green. I told you a moment ago, I sold just a tiny bit of his. I didn't divest my entire position in Hunter Green, just a little bit of his stock. But you said you went the other way. You're going the other way. What are your thoughts about Hunter Green?
Well, I've been hard on Hunter Green. I've been a skeptic on Hunter Green because I didn't think that he was improving. And I spent a little bit of time looking at the numbers, and he is improving. His strikeout rate's up a little bit. His walk rate's about the same. His FIP, his FIP is low. His whip is down a little bit. He's not giving up as many barrels as and that's it's small sample size, but his percentages are down. The hard hit percentage, the barrel percentage. My biggest argument with Hunter, and he's got to become more economical with his pitches. To me, I think that is the only fair argument or really critique on this guy is he's got to get more economical with his pitches. He's not getting as many swing and misses as he has in the past, but he's just got to get more strikes, or he's got to quit running out as many full counts and 3-ball counts as he does.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Here's where I am on Hunter Green. Still think he's the most talented Reds pitcher I've seen in my lifetime. Other than maybe Jimmy Haynes, and nothing about that opinion has changed. And I don't anticipate anything about that opinion changing for a while. He's still 24 years old. Okay, so he's still young. Still has some growth in him. The numbers, as you say. Even just the raw numbers, without looking into the analytics, even the raw numbers aren't bad. Okay. No, they're not superstar level, but they're not bad, roughly average, a little above average. My thing is this. You are 100% correct when you say that, his efficiency is the only thing getting in the way of him being a star. And why I sold a tiny portion of my stock in Hunter Green is because so far this season, small sample size, still early, still working it. He's not necessarily into the groove yet. I mean, what are we talking? 4 starts at this point? 4 starts.
20 innings.
Yeah. So again, I'm not drawing any grand conclusions, but I have seen no hint that he has made even small strides I mean, the guy's got to pitch 5. And in this day and age, 5 innings out of a starting pitcher is
reasonable.
It's effective. Reasonable. It is. I mean, 6 and 7 innings is almost too much to ask these days, which is a big part of the problem with baseball in my mind, as our baseball writer Joe Poznansky said last week, and I couldn't agree more. But if you can't even get 5 effective innings, then I'm not saying put him in the bullpen, but I'm saying you stress your bullpen and you severely limit exactly how effective you are as a starter. And so I just with Hunter, I'm still all in on him. But, I'm not all in. I'm going to shove half my chips into the center with
the other thing.
Hunter.
The other thing we heard, and this has been the last 2 spring trainings, we've heard about this phantom third pitch that he's going to come up with.
And we keep hearing about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking. He's thrown 20 split fingers and 11 curveballs in 4 starts.
Yeah.
That's 5% and 2.7%. He's throwing the 4-seamer 49% of the time and the slider 43% of the time. If he's going to throw
pitches. Go ahead.
If he's going to throw a third pitch, he's got to do it in ball games, or it's never going to get any better. It's not to say that he hasn't been effective when he's pitched. I mean, Tuesday night, and he only went 4 innings and threw 98 pitches, but he only gave up 1 run. I mean, he was grinding all night. I mean, he was really grinding. But he gave up 4 hits and 1 run.
Yeah, no, without question. I mean, he's got to get 5 or 6 innings on a consistent basis to really be close to the guy. Early on there was hope that he might be, and he still might be. I'm not discounting that he could hit his absolute ceiling. But on the other hand, until he starts getting 6, 7 innings, he's not going to be that anywhere near what I thought he could be. Justin Verlander is the guy I compared him to early on. That if he can hit his ceiling, he'll be Justin Verlander. Boy, I'm not seeing it just yet. But again, still a kid. I'm not at all down on Hunter Green. Okay, enough of Hunter Green for now. I think we're both still high on Hunter Green. You may be higher than you were previously in some ways, but sort of like I said with the Reds as a team, there's no reason just yet to change our mind about who this team is.
He's thrown 258 innings in the big leagues.
Right. Well, that's the problem. He needs to have thrown more. He can't last long enough a game. So we'll see. But the next pitcher I want to talk about is maybe my favorite player on the team, and that is Andrew Abbott. Andrew Abbott, last year, just a whirlwind start to his career. If you remember, incredible start to his career, as good as almost any Reds pitcher, rookie pitcher ever. This year started out well again, 4 starts, 2.7 ERA. All his numbers across the board look fantastic. Pretty much. But you remember last year, Abbott got tired down the stretch, wasn't quite as good. This year, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be his first full season. And to relate back to our conversation we just had, it's his first full season. Everybody thinks of him like that he's a kid. He's a new guy. He was just almost just barely out of his diapers, almost a rookie. He's 25 years old. He's older than Hunter Green. So let's not forget that when we talk about Hunter Green. So, but Andrew Abbott, what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm nothing but thrilled with this guy. Tell me why I'm wrong to be thrilled about the University of Virginia graduate Andrew Abbott.
Well, he's good despite going to UVA.
Me too.
That's true. No, sir. Again, you know how much I hate agreeing with you about anything. But if you don't enjoy watching this guy get out there and grind, and he's not a guy that just looks like he owns the mound when he's out there. He's just out there grinding. He's out there working hard. You listen, and we were lucky enough to have Brantley doing the games out there in Seattle on TV, and he was talking about Abbott. And the more I listen to Brantley, the more I love listening to him talk about pitchers and where they ought to go and what they ought to do. But I get the impression that he's a really big fan of Abbott's, because of the way he pitches. And he's fun to watch pitch. He really is. I mean,
he's a bulldog. He's just a bulldog out there. And
right now, if they had a must-win game, he's the guy I would want to start.
That's crazy. I mean, I agree with you, but it's crazy when you have Green, Lodolo, and the guy that we'll talk about here in a moment, the opening day starter, Frankie Moontass, or whatever Nate tries to call him. So let's go to him quickly, because he got roughed up a little bit this week. Frankie Montas.
He hasn't been very good his last couple of times out.
2 starts, yeah. And so, we did the thing that we always like to do is a couple of great starts to start the season. We're like, oh, we have an ace. Things are different now that we have an ace. And we didn't go that far, but he's come back to earth a little bit, and I think probably where he is right now. And again, we're talking about 4 starts. He's 2-2, 4.34 ERA. ERA plus at 104. All these are tiny sample size, 18.2 innings. So again, don't draw any conclusions whatsoever. But the jury's still out on him. I'm gonna wait and see.
He's another guy though. When he's been healthy, he's always been effective, and I'm assuming he's healthy. Now, the game in Seattle this week where he was not good, but he threw a career high 5 walks in a couple innings, and that's not him.
Yeah.
So whether it was a bad night, bad umpire, bad day, who knows? But if we get through the season and he's got an ERA plus of between 100 and 110, I'll be happy with that.
Oh goodness! But here's the thing. The Reds potentially have 5 guys that can have ERA pluses in that area or above as starters. And that's why I'm more bullish on this pitching staff than I've been in a Reds pitching staff since, the 2010, 11, 12 era.
Yeah. When they had, they started 6 guys. They used 6 starters the whole season.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had 5 that started every game except for one.
Except for one. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you name those 5 starters? Johnny Cueto,
Arroyo,
Bronson Arroyo,
Matt, the crazy guy,
Matt Latos, crazy guy Latos,
Homer
Bailey, one more.
I don't remember who the guy that started the one game was.
No, I don't remember that guy either. But who's the other of the 5 starters? Edinson Volquez.
Oh, was it Volquez? I would have guessed Mike Leake.
Nope, Edinson Volquez.
Okay.
Wait a minute. No, Mike Leake would have been after that, I think. I hope I'm not wrong. Anyway, someone will tell me if I'm wrong. And as a matter of fact, the person that will tell me will probably be Bill Lack, because he's going to Google it here in a moment. So again, I'm okay with Montas. Not a good week. I think he's still going to be fine. Is he going to be an all-star? No, I don't know. Maybe. But like you said, he has a track record. I'm not worried as long as he's healthy. Not worried about him. Graham Ashcraft's the other pitcher, at least starter that I wanted to talk about, and another Bulldog who's been, fine. None of these guys have been bad. They've been bad in individual starts, but overall, we're talking 3 starts with him, 4.15 ERA. I don't know that I have anything to add about Graham Ashcraft that we haven't said in all the past episodes about him. He's fun to watch because he kind of grinds and he's kind of really competitive, but I don't know. I just think we've seen the same guy that we've seen in the past.
The only thing about Ashcraft, the only really rough spot he had was after that long inning in that game against I think it was Milwaukee. The Reds jumped up 9-0, and he was on the bench for a long period of time, and he came out and got roughed up, and then Bell sent him back out, and he got roughed up some more.
That's true.
And that's really been the worst he's looked. So, again, if he's going to be, if we have 4 starters or maybe 5 starters that are all above average, all we got to do is get healthy on the offensive side.
And that's a great way to put it, because think back to last year when the Reds were starting Derek Law in a pennant race or a division title race, or really it's a wild card race.
Well, who was the rookie that pitched the must-win game in the last weekend of the season? Was Spires? Was it Spires or was it Connor Phillips or one of those guys?
I believe it was Connor Phillips, who has some talent, but still, he's.
But you don't want him out there in a must-win game, the last week of the season.
Yeah, the Reds were throwing bullpen games during the middle of it, really trying to win a playoff spot. It was just a disaster. So it all comes back to health. And so we with this group, you just can't ever presume health. But they actually have some arms that I don't think it's crazy to say that those 5 guys we've talked about, if they're healthy, those 5 guys will be somewhat above average. Some may be way above average. Some may be just barely above average. But if you have 5 starters that are somewhat above average, you're right. I mean, I think that if this offense, and the offense has actually not been awful if you look where they rank in the National League in terms of runs scored so far. But again, we're talking just 18 games. But it's a roller coaster. But I think they could be in good shape. So that's, if you're looking for reasons to be optimistic, I think that's a good one.
Well, the other thing is, and they've got, when we're talking about the rotation, Williamson is on the DL right now, and whether he comes back.
Scott Williamson still plays for this team,
who was just on the round table a couple weeks ago. But Williamson, and then you still got Phillips and Spires down at Spears down at Louisville. So I mean, and they're all guys. I mean, Williamson was pretty good last year. The other 2 kids showed flashes. So I mean, we are so much deeper in starting pitching than we were last year, and this is assuming health, especially with Lodolo. But let's talk about the bullpen.
Oh my goodness! Here's the name I want to talk about first. There's some guys we need to talk about here, but again, this is just sort of a 18 games in vibe check, and so that's why we're kind of checking on each of these players. I was critical, I think, of the signing of Emilio Pagan. I was hopeful because he had some success last year, but his whole career, he's given up lots of home runs. And, guys that give up lots of home runs don't do well for the Reds. And I just got to tell you, I never bought any Emilio Pagan stock, but if any of you did, divest immediately. This guy has no business. I'm sorry. He seems like a nice guy, but I don't anticipate. And I hope this comes back to bite me. I hope somebody pulls this clip later in the year because he's put up a 2.1 ERA the rest of the way. I just don't see it. And seems like David Bell is at this point using him in situations that are maybe not the highest leverage situations, but important situations. And it scares me a little bit. So I don't know if you have anything else to say about Emilio Pagan, but I
agree with you. I just think he was a bad match for this team for where they play. He may be a fine major league pitcher in Seattle. These cavernous ballparks, but we don't play in one of those. And I mean, he's already given up 2 home runs this year, as is Mr. Farmer. But I agree with you. I'm seeing him way too much in the 8th inning.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see him in the 8th inning.
He has the most appearances on this team tied actually with, and let's go ahead and talk about this guy because I have been delighted by this guy, Brent Suter, the local kid who, I don't know. I love a kid that he's not a kid. He's 34 years old. I love a guy who
Kidding me.
well, there you go. Well, me too, I guess actually. But I love a player, and this is kind of irrational. This type of stuff shouldn't make me happy, but a guy that clearly loves to play for the Cincinnati Reds. Not just loves to play Major League Baseball, but he really wants to be a Cincinnati Red. These guys are all professionals. I don't expect any of them to be like, like we are about the Reds. And Brent Suter kind of is like we are, except that he can pitch very well. And so I'm happy to see him have some success so far.
Well, he grew up here, so that there's something to that. But he's been I won't say lights out, but he's been very, very effective.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to have to say small sample size qualifications throughout this episode because who knows? But so far,
everything is small sample size.
Yeah.
But so far, he's one of he would be my high leverage left-hander.
Oh, right now. Oh, absolutely. Certainly not Emilio. I think we have to ask this question. First of all, since we're talking about relievers, and I do feel compelled. I know you've talked about this, but I am heartbroken about TJ Antone. I haven't had a chance to talk about it. TJ Antone worked so hard to come back. And I was just rooting for the guy. So I don't know. I feel compelled that I need to at least.
Absolutely. And I have never, people don't say bad things about guys as players, but everybody that talks about him goes out of their way to talk about what a good guy he is. So I do feel bad about it for him.
Yeah.
But that does lead me to another small topic here. Why is he not on the 60-man DL? Right now he's still taking up a spot on the 40-man. Why?
That's a great question, and I actually had not noticed. I hadn't even considered that he hadn't been moved to this.
I looked at the 40-man today. We've got two position guys on the 40 that are either not on the major league roster or not on the DL. Two position players.
Who are they? Do you have them?
Yeah, hang on. It's the guy whose name I can't pronounce.
You're turning more into Joe Nuxall every single year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Where is it?
Well, that is an odd choice.
Here
to not move him to the
Jacob I can't pronounce that guy's name.
Hurtubise, I think.
Hurtubise and Race Hines are the only two position players on the 40-man roster that are not either on the major league active roster or on one of the DLs. And Race Hines is the other
one. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll have to inquire about that. I'll send a reporter out to Great American Ballpark to see if we can get some answers.
Take care of that. And we got relievers that are rehabbing down in Louisville. They're not pitching very well, but they're down there. And at some point, their rehab time is going to be up fairly soon, I would believe.
Here's my question to you, Bill.
Okay.
Are we getting close to the point where we just need to accept that injury and bad luck have ruined Lucas Sims? Are we ready to give up on Lucas Sims?
I've never bought stock in Lucas Sims.
What?
No. He's always walked way too many guys for me.
It's true. His walk rates over the years have been really, really rough.
Relievers that come in and walk guys out of the bullpen absolutely make me tear my hair out. And as you can see, I'm pretty thin.
Well, his walk rate this year is a career high at almost 11 walks per 9 innings.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Even when he pitches well, he has me sitting on the edge of my seat.
He's been bad. He's 30 years old at this point. It was actually fairly effective last year. I mean, we have to say after just a rough time again, rehab back from injury, He was pretty effective last year. And I'm looking at his numbers now. He's actually was more effective than I remembered him being last year. So I guess I'll give him a little bit of rope. But man, 6 games into this year, he just looks lost.
He was terrible the other day in Seattle. Just awful.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you the guy that I really enjoy watching, and again, he's another guy that he walks way too many guys for me. And if he ever can cure that ill, even though he's an older guy, Cruz is fun to watch pitch out of the bullpen.
Fernando Cruz. I agree.
But he's
34 years old.
Yeah. But didn't come up till late. So, he hasn't worn a lot of tread off the tires. But if he can ever get to the point where he can effectively throw strikes, and now maybe with the splitter, maybe that pitch is going to walk a lot of guys because it dives so much. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know the answer to those questions. But if he could ever get that, he's at 5 walks per 9 right now. He could get that down to about 3. He would be lights out. He was at like 3.8 last year. So.
Yeah.
But his strikeouts per 9 right now is at 18.4.
It's rough. The thing I would say about the bullpen is this. We just talked about how we have 5 guys now who are pitching acceptably or better in the rotation. So what that means is that Nick Martinez, free agent signing over the offseason, as sort of a swing guy. He started 2 games, but the more we have our starting pitchers pitching well, Martinez flexes back to the bullpen. And I think that's where his value lies in this team. I think he can be effective. So
yeah, we said that before the season. Both of us did.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a pretty good signing. I didn't think it was necessarily a needle moving sign. I think if you go back to see what I said at the time, and I still don't, but I think that it's one of these signings that's about all Nick Krall does these days. But on the margins, it kind of helps this team. And if we get some health in the starting pitchers, could really help this team because it'll help stabilize.
Yeah, it made them better, but it didn't make them a lot better.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So let's move on to the batters. I guess what I'm hearing here from both of us, and maybe you disagree with this, but maybe a little cautious optimism about the pitching staff as a whole.
The bullpen still makes me nervous. Diaz has not looked consistent, and when you're when you worry about when you roll your closer out there, that's not a good situation. Farmer hasn't looked very effective. We talked about Pagan. We talked about Sims. Wilson's not looked good. And
Wilson.
They're going to get Maul back at some point. But
yeah,
he was very effective last year, but he hasn't been effective in his rehab appearances. I like Jabot more than you do.
Ian Jabot.
Yeah, I would rather see Jabot than Buck Farmer. I would rather I might rather see Jabot than Sims, based on what they did. Based on what he did, based on what Jabot did last year.
I certainly like seeing a guy like Jabot that is in worse physical shape than me. It's not hard. It's not easy to find those guys in the big leagues. I like seeing. I like the guy. I don't have any issues with the guy. And I agree. I would rather see him than Buck Farmer. I mean, I have Buck Farmer fatigue. Sometimes he looks okay, but I just have Buck Farmer fatigue. And
I think you can get a shot for that.
Well, you have to order it at farmersonly.com. Let's talk about our hitters. Can we talk about the hitting? And the guy I want to start with, one thing that's I like about baseballreference.com, if you go to that, and I'm constantly on there looking at various Reds teams of the past. And I love how at the top they have a line of photographs, pictures of the player, headshots of the players.
Mm-hmm.
In the order of who leads the team in wins above replacement, and passes, and who led the team. So if I had to, and you probably have it pulled up so you know where I'm going, but if not, who are the 2 guys tied for the team lead in wins above replacement at the top of the Baseball Reference Cincinnati Reds page?
Well, Elly, of course, and Spencer Steer.
So let's start with those two. Okay.
Okay.
Elly De La Cruz. Now, I know you didn't see this because you have a long-standing policy that you refuse to read anything I write. But this week at CincinnatiMagazine.com, my Reds column was about Elly, and it was about the Elly De La Cruz experience, the thrill ride. And essentially, it was the idea was this. Elly started off awful. The Yahoos and the cheap seats out on Twitter, X or whatever it's called, were screaming for him to be sent to the minor leagues. There was some pretty strong language used about Elly De La Cruz, and some tweets that I found that we ultimately decided not to republish and publicly shame people in my column. But a lot of people really said, "Come on, send the guy down," because that's what we do in Cincinnati. We give up on talented players. We yell at talented players. And since that point, he has largely been very, very good. So far this season, Elly De La Cruz, we're talking about 18 games, 73 plate appearances. So again, but 277 batting average, 356 on base, 600 slugging, an OPS plus of 159. He leads the Reds in home runs with 5. He leads the Reds in stolen bases with 7. He is 22 years old. So the thesis of my column was that sometimes he's going to be bad. Sometimes he's going to make errors. Okay. He's 22. Sometimes he's going to do something that makes your jaw drop. Like when he hits a 450-foot home run and then follows it up later in the game with an inside the park home run. He's always worth the price of admission, and you just need to buckle up and enjoy the ride. He's gonna have some bad times. He's gonna have some times also that you're gonna be like wanting to tell your grandkids about it. So I am just completely thrilled with what we've seen from Elly, even though he's still striking out way too much. Although I noticed the last week or so, there's been a couple of at bats where he's like taking some pitches he wouldn't have taken in important counts. So, fingers crossed. But anyway, what are your thoughts about young phenom Elly De La Cruz?
Well, his wins above replacement, he's got 1 win above replacement already. And last year, he had 1.8 on the season. And he's had 14% of the at-bats he had last year. So I think it's pretty safe to say if he stays healthy, he's going to have more wins above replacement than he did last year. There's a hot take for you. How about that?
Oh, that's hot. It's hot.
He's into 90, and I looked some stuff up on I've become obsessed with Baseball Savant. He's in the 90th.
So before you go into that, you've gotten obsessed with Baseball Savant. You've never been hostile to analytics or advanced metrics, but I've never known you to be sort of digging into the StatCast data and all that. This is a good development.
I love the stuff that tells you how well they're hitting beyond the numbers.
Yeah.
He's in the 90th percentile in exit velocity, 96th percentile in barrel percentage, and 92nd percentile in hard hit balls. And he's 22.
That's amazing.
And I don't know if I did not look at this deep. I don't know whether they split that out on left and right-handed. I know the inside the park home run, I believe, was right-handed. The 450, I think, was left-handed.
Lefty, yeah.
I did throw a thing out on our Slack channel the other day, though, and I want to know who the Reds' career leader is in inside the park home runs. And somebody sent a message back to me and said that's hard to figure out. And they sent it. They sent it to Joe Luckup and asked him if he knew who it was.
He'll figure it out.
But if you and I've been frustrated in a couple of games with Elly myself, especially with his defense. At times I just think he gets lackadaisical, whether he loses his concentration, for a play or whatever. But he's also made some plays running into the, he ran 92 feet one day in a game down the left field line and caught a pop up with basically, I think it was with his back to the plate. I don't know another shortstop I've ever seen playing for the Reds that would have got that ball. And then apparently he had another play. Well, he had a play the other night in the hole where he backhanded a ball and threw a guy out with a rifle shot from the hole. And like you said, he makes some defensive plays that they're unbelievable. And so even the people that are talking about moving him to the outfield after what's he got 100 games in the big league?
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. That play that you just referenced, where he ran 1,000 feet to catch that ball, it was crazy. It was just crazy. And what I saw there was this. I said, look, I still think he's got a chance to be an elite shortstop. Nothing has changed my mind. I keep saying this every time it comes up. Barry Larkin had 19 errors in his first, mostly full season, 100 and some games. Barry Larkin had 29 errors in his second season. He was old. He was 23 and 24 and
played college ball.
And had played college ball. And then he ends up winning 3 Gold Gloves and should have won at least 3 more. Ozzie Smith stole some from him. So there's nothing I've seen that makes me think Elly's not going to. Those of you that are saying he should give up, look, do it, fan how you want to fan. But it's silly. It's just silly that the Reds should give up on him as a shortstop.
At this point where this kid is right now at 22 years old with 100 games in the big leagues, to say he can't play shortstop, there's no basis for that discussion.
Exactly. Not yet. But to circle back to where I began here, that when I saw that, I thought, well, if he ultimately does not stick at shortstop,
he can go a long way in center field.
He's going to win Gold Gloves in center field, being able to cover that much ground.
And with that arm.
And oh my goodness, with that arm. And did you see the relay home?
Yep.
I can't remember which game this was, but he got the relay.
It was the Abbott game. I think it was Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget.
They said.
And if Motley holds onto the ball, the guy's out.
Oh, absolutely. They said it was a 94 mile per hour throw, and
that's just a lob for Elly.
Well, I don't believe it's true because I saw it. It looked like it was at least 1,000 miles an hour. It was wild.
Right. Should we talk about Steer?
Yeah, let's talk about Spencer Steer. He's the guy I wrote about last week.
I know
for Cincinnati Magazine.
I've actually read your last 2 columns.
Okay, come on. I don't believe a word of that, but
you don't believe I can read.
Well, I was getting ready to say, did somebody read it to you?
My wife reads to me in bed at night.
302 batting average, 421 on base, 571 slugging, OPS plus of 171, leads the team with 18 ribeye steaks. This guy. Go ahead.
And I hate saying that. And I said this on here last week. I thought your point about him maybe never being your comparison with him and Perez, in the fact that he may never be the best player on a team he plays on. He can be a hell of a player and maybe still never be the best player. But he's another one. The way he plays and stuff, I liken him a lot to Pete Rose, and I've said this since last year. He's versatile. He does whatever the team needs. You can hit him anywhere in the lineup. And that way he's a lot like Larkin. But nothing seems to faze him. He never looks like he's off his, even keel. He never looks like he's overmatched at the plate. He never looks like he's jumping at the ball. He never really even looks like he has a bad at bat. I mean, you may get him out, but I can't remember a handful of times in a year and a half here that he's looked bad at the plate. I mean, he's another one. He's fun to watch. He's a
professional hitter.
Professional hitter. That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't have any sense that he has any of Pete Rose's vices, but the fact that he's just exactly like Pete. I mean, Pete's legendary for switching positions because that's what the team needed. Steer said, buddy, I'll play where you need me to play. There was a time before the Reds signed Espinal that it looked like Steer was going to be the backup shortstop. He'll play anywhere. And so here's my hot take of the week. If Nick Krall knew what he was doing, and the jury's still out on that, he's burning up the phone line right now. He's trying to sign Spencer Steer to a 5-6 year deal
He'd be the
right
guy,
now.
He'd be the guy I'd be signing. He and Elly are the two that I'd be trying to get signed right now.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. I mean, and because of that, he may never be the best player on the team. He may not, but he's likely to be the heart of whatever team he's on. He's likely to be sort of the driver of that team.
The uncrowned MVP.
Yeah, yeah.
He may not be the MVP in the league, but he might be the most valuable guy on the team.
Yeah. And he actually was the Reds team MVP last year.
Yes, he was.
But I don't know that he was the best player, actually, when you think about McClain and you think about, but anyway, Andrew Abbott last year. So just thrilled with Steer. He just keeps doing what he's doing. He's a professional hitter. Who do we want to go to next? Anybody you want to talk about specifically? There's one guy I definitely want to talk about, but we'll go wherever you want to go next.
I'll follow your lead.
All right. Then here's where we'll go. Jonathan India.
What do we do? What do you do with India at this point?
Well, I'm going to zig here. You were expecting me to zag, and I'm going to zig. I'm okay with India so far.
Except he's 0 for his last 23 and 2 for his last 36.
Is that bad?
And his on-base percentage has dropped to 316. When his on-base percentage was up like 360, I could live with him not getting any hits. But when he's not walking and he's not hitting, you know, a leadoff hitter with an on-base percentage of 316 doesn't help your team. But I don't know what they do. I mean, they're out of guys.
What I would say is you need to pull up his Baseball Savant page. Because, first of all, Jonathan India, 316 on-base percentage, but his batting average is 159. He leads the team in walks so far this season.
But not lately. I mean, he is in a tank right now.
He is, but the reason why I'm willing to first of all, they don't have anybody to replace him with now.
Right.
Until McClain gets back, this is a moot point. But the reason why I have a tiny sliver of hope that he's going to be a little bit better than what he was before is because look at who his chase percentage. Ball's chased outside the zone.
Yep.
And he goes outside the zone less than any player on the Reds so far this year.
Well, he's in a
and
98,
that's not.
Yeah, he's in the 98th percentile.
Yeah, that's not who Jonathan India has been in his career. So if he can be more selective, he's had a slump. We say small sample size all the time. Still small sample size.
2 for 36 is not a small sample size.
That is a tiny sample size. You telling me that?
I'm not saying it's a huge, but
You think Joe Morgan never went 2 for 36?
Are you comparing Jonathan India to Joe Morgan?
Buddy, I wouldn't embarrass Joe Morgan by comparing him to Jonathan India.
I understand everything you're saying, and we both agree that there's nothing they can do right now. India's going to be playing every day. I would probably give him tomorrow off. He was off today for travel day. I would probably give him another day off. Have him come back on Saturday.
Problem is, you give him a day off, and you have to have Santiago Espinal play for him, and
well, now. What if you move Steer into the infield?
Oh,
then you play.
Well,
and you play like Fraley and Benson.
And who? And who else in the outfield? I mean, we could put Stuart Fairchild, who is garbage and batted third yesterday.
I agree. He should never bat third, and he should never, and he should hardly ever play against right-hand hitters if you can avoid it at any. Bubba Thompson should never start for this team, ever.
Nope, never.
But like I said, they're just out of guys right now.
But see,
and then,
this outfit,
and then Candelario starts to hit. He has a couple, 2-3 good games, and then he gets the flu.
But let's go back to the outfield for a moment.
Okay.
The outfield problem, we knew it was a problem.
And the Reds did nothing to address it.
And the Reds did literally nothing to address it. And so then when TJ Friedl goes down, all of a sudden it's dire. And so you look at this outfield, and Jake Fraley. I love me some Jake Fraley, Will Benson, absolutely. Spencer Steer. The 3 starters so far have been great. Well, Benson's not been great, but he's been good.
Yeah.
But after that, there's no one. And I mentioned it a couple times. I didn't really bang the drum too much about it, but I'm telling you who would have looked great in this outfield right now. Adam Duvall.
I said the same thing. I said that to you. I sent you that text.
Yeah. Wouldn't it have been good for the Reds? Cheap contract they could have gotten him for.
And he sat out there for a long time before Atlanta went and got him.
It would be helpful because right now your options are, if you want to put Steer in the infield where he can play, your options are Stuart Fairchild, who the less said the better, Bubba Thompson, and I guess Nick Martini. But
can he
Martini's
play the
not exactly. Well, he owns a glove.
No.
I can confirm that he owns a glove.
I think part of it, and anybody has heard me on here knows that I am no big fan of Fairchild, but he's not to blame for how he's been used by this manager.
That's true.
He goes out there when his name's in the lineup card, and he plays hard, and he's played really good defense in the outfield.
Oh, he's fast. I mean, he's athletic as can be.
But he's not a good hitter.
He is.
He's fairly effective against left-handers. He should never, he should be one of your second last choice against right-handers on this team.
But that's the problem. David Bell actually in the last year or two has been really effective about only playing guys in situations where they're likely to succeed. Right. He is forced now by the complete lack of depth in the outfield to play Stuart Fairchild in positions that are unfair to him.
Right.
Yep. And so Stuart Fairchild's not good. And I said some things earlier that I wish I hadn't said because I'm sure his mother's listening. If she is listening, Mrs. Fairchild, I'm sorry. I apologize because he does give 100% all the time for this team.
Absolutely.
But he's just not good enough to be a player that play. He's the last guy on your roster. Should be.
He should be the 26th guy on this roster, and he's not. He's probably like the 23rd.
Yeah. We have Bubba Thompson as well. So
and Espinal's been a huge disappointment, I think, to this team, the way he's played. I think they expected a lot more out of him offensively than they've gotten.
Yeah, not that he was expected to be, to replace Matt McLain's numbers.
No,
but he was. If he could have just been competent, it helps this team. And
his OPS plus is 1.
Is that good? Is that
well?
Good?
You could say I'm number 1. I'm number 1.
But again, he's a guy with a little bit of a track record, right? So he has made an all-star team, but he's never really been great. But he's been acceptable with the bat. So let's just say it's been 30 at bats and not draw too many conclusions.
I'd be playing Fraley. I'd be playing Fraley more against left-handed pitching.
I think you have to play Fraley and Benson as much as you can and give him
Fraley's 4 for 8 with a home run against left-handers so far this year. Play him out there against left-handers till he absolutely proves he can't hit them.
Well, why wouldn't you at this point? Because you don't have any other options.
Right.
So why wouldn't you? I'm pulling up Will Benson now to see what his splits are this year because he's had a little bit of success against lefties.
He struggled against. I looked at his splits earlier. He struggled against left-handers, but he's getting on base against them.
He is getting on base. He has a 400 on base percentage.
Yep.
A 533 slugging percentage. We're talking about 20 at bats, but he's
right.
He has 2 doubles, a home run. Listen, why would you play Stuart Fairchild or Bubba Thompson right now with Friedel out? Just play Benson and Fraley every day.
I would.
You have to, and they largely are. But
I get a right-handed hitter in between them.
Spencer Steer.
Well, I want Steer up at the top of the lineup. I don't want him down there hitting. I don't want him hitting 6. The lineup construction has been a question to me. Elly's hitting too far down in the lineup. Steer's hitting too far down in the lineup. And when Fairchild hit, what did he hit third that one day?
He hit third last game.
I mean, that was like he just pulled that day. It looked like he just pulled the names out of the hat and filled in.
Is there a method to David Bell's madness when it comes to Elly De La Cruz's spot in the lineup, though?
If there is, he's never explained it, and I can't figure it out.
Well, maybe take a little pressure off the guy. Not hit him lead off, not hit him third. Maybe lower in the order, a little pressure off the guy.
Hit him fifth. I'd never hit Elly lower than fifth.
No, I wouldn't either. Any other hitters you want to specifically talk? You mentioned Jeimer Candelario. He's been bad.
But he started after he sat down that day. He came out the next 3 games. He played pretty well. Encarnacion Strand has been bad. But if you look at his his other numbers, he's hit when he's hitting the biggest thing that concerns me is his walk rate is atrocious.
But when he's hit
when he's hit the ball, he stung it. He is a big, strong young man. And I think he'll be fine, but maybe they need to move him down in the lineup.
No, I agree. Yeah, 24 years old. I think what I would say about Candelario and Encarnacion Strand is similar. I'm not ready to panic on either of them. Candelario, he's not going to be a superstar, but he has a track record over the long season. He's going to be fine. Is he going to be a star? No. Is he going to be an average hitter? Maybe he's just an average hitter, but he's not going to be what he has been. Encarnacion Strand he's still a kid, and I'm not as sure that he's going to be a positive contributor this year. So, yeah, I think I bet him 8th, frankly.
I may be prejudiced because I really like him, and I think he's going to be good this year, but it could be my prejudice showing too.
Yeah, I like him, and the dude can he mashes the ball.
He puts a flat spot when he hits it. Yeah.
Oh,
the other guy we need to talk about is Tyler Stevenson.
Well, that's where I was going to go. And here's my take on Tyler Stevenson.
Okay.
Stevenson's numbers so far this year, that is who Tyler Stevenson is.
Well, I think he's hitting in some bad luck, too. I mean, he's 99th percentile in barrel percentage in the league.
The problem is,
I think he's hitting in some bad luck. But the thing I want to say about him, but before I get off, and then I'll let you go, I have always really ragged him about his defense. And I think and this is just the eyeball test, I think he looks vastly improved defensively. I haven't seen any balls get by him underneath him. I think he's, what you can tell of framing, it looks like he's doing a better job with that. I just think defensively, he's looked like almost like a different player this year. And I've been really, 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 really impressed with how he's improved.
Well, now I'm intrigued because I really hadn't noticed that at this point. And if he's competent defensively, that probably changes my assessment. Not that I'm out on him. I think I'm fine with him being the Red starting catcher. There are very few catchers in the league that can hit, first of all, let's say that. But here's my problem with him is that I just don't see a lot of progress in terms of his approach at the plate. He's not walking. I think maybe you're right. He's hitting into some bad luck. And so maybe his numbers will come up a little bit. But I think again, on this show, you can go back to the archives. We have 531 episodes before this one and see all the dumb things we've said. I always try to just own
again
up.
And again and again.
Right. I just own up when I'm wrong. I'm not here to tell you that I'm always going to be right. Like some will do. I think I was taken in by a smallish sample size on Tyler Stevenson. Although he was good in the minors, but never quite what he was in sort of a smaller sample size early in his career in Cincinnati. And I think he was injured in the minors. And so I thought, he's hitting well on the major league level. Maybe this is who the guy is because he was a number 1 draft pick, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think I probably overvalued who he is, but I still think he can be a good major league catcher. If he's average defensively, I think he'll hit enough to be to deserve the position. But I'm afraid what you're seeing is what you get.
I don't think he's going to be as bad as he is right now. I think when the season's over, assuming he stays healthy, I think he'll be higher than his OPS plus will be higher than it was last year.
Do you think what was it last year? Because I don't have it pulled
87.
up. Well, I think that if he does that and if he is truly improved defensively, he's a positive contributor to this team
If he's-
when you
if
compare
he's
him to
in
his
the-
peers.
Yeah, if he's in the 90s and he's better defensively, I agree with you.
Yeah, I'll take that. Absolutely. Looking up and down, I mean, I guess we can talk about Nick Martini. I don't know what to say. 34 years old.
Well, and I said, you know, he'll always be remembered for opening day and nothing else.
Good for him. Good for
Yeah.
him. Yeah. And cool name. So, Bill, so I made a mistake. I'm admitting again.
First one ever.
And I just did not have time to ask our friends at patreon.com/viewer
mail
Riverfront Cincy. I did not get a chance to ask them for viewer mail questions this week. So feel free to flog me in our Slack channel, but you do that anyway. So, I mean, I don't know how it would be different than usual. So I think we're going to stick a pin in it right there. Bill, any final thoughts about the Reds? As again, we're doing our 4 weeks in vibe check. Any thoughts about where we are or anything else you didn't
about the Reds? No, I got a text from my wife. She's bringing home chocolate cake.
Ooh, chocolate cake at the Lack House. Now we're talking. Hey, it's good talking to you again, buddy.
Always good to be with you, my friend.
All right, so look, here at the Riverfront Network, lots of fun stuff going on. Check out the Sunday night show, Late Night Reds. I actually hosted that a couple weeks ago and was by far the best host in the history of Late Night Reds. Our live show here every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Check out Red Leg Roundtable. Seth Shaner, he's got some fun guests on. Pokey Reese. What do you think about that Pokey Reese episode?
I haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet. I missed that one. I didn't catch that one. I did just listen to the Merker one. Yeah, yesterday.
Kent Merker. These are some guys that we remember fondly. I don't remember Pokey that fondly, but it's fun to hear them reminisce about some of those. So had some good episodes. Got some more coming up for you. Check that out.
I did not remember that Merker threw 2 no-hitters.
Yeah, it's true. 0 for the Reds, though, right?
Right.
He didn't throw 1 for the Reds.
1 was a combined and 1 was on his own.
Yeah, so Kent Merker, the old left-hander. No, he's not the old left-hander. Bill's the old left-hander.
No, Nuxell's the old left-hander.
Oh,
I'm the old ambidextrous.
There we go. All right. Well, Bill, final thoughts. Go ahead now or keep your peace forever.
Well, let's get out there this weekend and take 3 from the Angels.
That's it. The Reds this week have 3 at home. Well, they have all their games this week are at home against 3 against the Angels, 4 against the Philadelphia Phillies. An opportunity for the Reds to get right again and 7 straight at home. Come out of this, even to go 4-3 in those games, we're good to go. Yep. We just got to hang around 500 until the cavalry comes, and the Reds will be in good shape. All right, so you can go to riverfront.com. Actually, you can go to riverfront.com, but patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy is where I'm trying to tell you to go, where you can join the family. It's been a long, long day. Please forgive me for saying dumb things. Bill, always fun, my friend.
Enjoy it.
All right, for Bill Lack, and I didn't come up with a goofy, obscure Red this week. Who should we?
Dummy Hoy.
I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go with.
Why not? He was a great player for the Reds.
He was. How about this for Bill Lack and Greasy Neal? How about that one? Look him up. This is Chad Dotson.
And Don Pavletic.
Don Pavletic. This is Chad Dotson saying, so long, everyone.